Hey everyone, this is the Kubeflow Notebooks meeting for the 13th of March, 2025. We're just about to cut the final release for Kubeflow 1.10, which is obviously not including Kubeflow Notebooks v2, but includes just a few updates, mainly around the default images for notebooks, and also obviously all of the other components as well, like dashboard, profile controller, and everything else. We're doing a couple of things just important to understand. Well, if anyone wants to say hi first, we do this all the time now. So like, if anyone wants to say hi who hasn't been here before, then feel free to say hi now. I think I see some new names.
Yeah, so I'm new. My name is Chen. I'm from Sinan team, from Reddit, and I'm a software engineer, and that's it from my
Did you say
side.
from Reddit?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, awesome, nice, awesome.
So,
And yeah, if you want to share, so you're just interested, or do you want to help contribute? I mean, just so that we can so we know if we want to assign you tasks or anything.
yeah, for sure. I'm from Sinan team, so I will help and contribute with, I think, with Judith. So.
Okay. I mean, so do you have a particular area? Are you wanting to contribute to notebooks itself or some other component?
Yeah, for the
Okay, cool.
notebooks.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I also misheard you. You said Red Hat, not Reddit. Sorry, I thought you said Reddit. I was like, I'm surprised that Reddit is here because I don't know that Reddit uses this. Interesting. Cool. Okay.
Right.
That's awesome. Um, it's a very different company. Okay. Anyway, thanks for coming. Anyone else want to say hi? If not, let's move on. Okay. So yeah, so the most important thing is that we're about to cut the 1.10 release on the Kubeflow repo, which includes all of notebooks 1.0, the dashboard, and that's my fork of it rather than this one. There we go. Yeah, so the one thing we're left to do is the thing that me and Eder have worked on a little bit, which is we need to push our images to GitHub Container Registry rather than Docker Hub, because on April 1st, as if a sick joke on the community, Docker is removing unauthenticated pulls. So as a result, nearly everything in the world will break. I expect some of the vendors like Amazon and Google might, and if they're not planning to do this, I suggest they do this, have some kind of pull through cache on every EKS and GKE cluster just to prevent the world falling apart on that day. Or maybe work with Docker to increase that date to sometime in the future, but because it was very short notice. I understand that it's expensive to run, I'm sure. Just I think it's going to be very catastrophic on that day otherwise, because it means that you'll only be able to pull 10 times per IP address per hour. Like that is not enough to run anything, really. Okay. So we're doing the migration to GitHub Container Registry for 1.10, which means that all new deployments shouldn't have this problem, but existing ones will, so they'll need to upgrade, which is a pain because, again, upgrading requires you to upgrade your distribution, or if you're running your own distribution, well, okay. So I won't go through this now, but Eder, is this ready for review? Just want to update what you've done here? Or?
It's yeah, I think it's ready for the initial review. My first question, because I saw there was a bunch of tests, CI that pass, others don't pass. If they are flaky or not. That would be my quick question for you.
So the only one that I know doesn't work is the Angular dashboard, but I don't think that's that
Oh,
one.
the Angular dashboard passed it by surprise. I
Well,
fixed it. Yeah.
that's. Did you fixed it? Is that what you said?
No, I'm joking. I
Oh,
fixed it.
okay. That's interesting. Uh, okay, then. I don't know why this is. It says timed out. So, I mean, this one could be flaky, I guess. I'll just rerun this one. But it's possible that because they've never been pushed to before, it's not like the way that it worked previously was that it was building, like it might be pulling from lower levels of the cache and then taking less time by just enough to pass not the timeout. But we
Yeah,
can.
because some are breaking on the NPM, some are breaking in timeouts, and some. I'll give you an example. Go back, please. Not in the on the page, please.
Oh, not this one.
On the pull request, yeah, the pull request. I give example. For instance, the JWA, the multi-arc doesn't pass, but the regular one passes. If you go to
So this
Discord,
could be the same issue. that oh no, because we forced us down to an older version of Ubuntu. That should still be an older version. Anyway, we did have problems with this. Anyway, we'll look at this later. This is just
I wonder if it's
interesting.
just memory or disk related, if it's just seg faulting, but yeah, we don't need a rabbit hole.
Is it seg faulting? Oh yeah, so no, if it's seg faulting, this implies to me that it somehow isn't using the version that I hard coded, because previously we were having seg faults on every single build because someone changed, well, GitHub changed the default Ubuntu to 24 at the same time as, and then that broke a bunch of things because it was a kernel bug for emulation. So is it, my question is really, is it everyone that's seg faulting, or is it only like the ARM build that's seg faulting?
I didn't look at it because I just run them.
It looks like it might be all of them, but because that doesn't, it normally would say ARM at the beginning if it was the ARM one, right? Where's a big pain?
But you can look this later.
Yeah,
we can.
Yeah,
we can start a thread in the community channel.
Yeah. I think it's hard to know exactly why. I'll just redo.
Yeah.
I'll just rerun all these ones just in case. But
one problem that we are going to have is that the file wizard, file browser, there is no image on the GCR, and Google Container, GitHub Container Registry.
Which one are we talking about?
The file.
Oh, you mean the one that they wanted to update?
File browser. File browser is not. They don't publish.
That's fine. We can just mirror it. We can just mirror it or something. Or are you sure they don't publish it anywhere?
I check on their package. I put on the if you go for the pull request and see the comment, they are not there.
Okay, well at worst, it's not a big deal, I don't think. But we can either leave it or we can because we can it's more like we just need to have it so that it won't break. Like that won't break the deployment at least. You know what I mean? That just means that that feature won't work. But it is annoying. I'll agree. Because I don't like the idea of mirroring it, thinking about it more. Anyway, okay, cool. Sorry, let's move on. I don't want to waste any more time. I will just rerun these two so that we can check if they have flaked or not. Some of them are flaky, to be clear, but it's not normally in that area. Okay, cool. So the other thing is that the reason why this is a bit of an annoying thing is because we're also in the process of moving things to the dashboard repo first. So we're not moving the 1.0 code to the notebooks repo yet. We're still developing notebooks 2.0 in the notebooks repo. I'll show you if you haven't seen, just so everyone understands what's happening. We have 3 repos. We have the old Kubeflow repo, which contains everything for now that we manage, which is central dashboard, access management, and to the notebooks 1.0 stuff. We have now 2 new repos, which is dashboard and notebooks. Right now we're developing, and I wrote a better note at the top of this main so that people know that we're developing notebooks 1.0 still in that repo and it's being moved across, and we're developing 2.0 under that branch, which I'm sure everyone who's developing notebooks 2.0 understands, but everything's happening there. There is some debate as to once we move the 1.0 code, whether we should move it to notebooks-v1 or into main. My preference is that I don't know. It's an interesting question, right? Like, because I think it should be into V1, and then we should just maintain 2 different branches until we deprecate V1 entirely, and then move V2 into main as soon as we're ready to release it, so that main becomes the V2 version, if you know what I mean. And so effectively, I don't know. But if people disagree, feel free to raise that, but we won't talk about it now. I just wanted to say that so think about it in your time, and we're not doing it today, so okay. And then the last thing is that the dashboard repo is also going to be set up. We've also got this comment at the top to help users. Also, we do have issue templates on both of them now, so when a user clicks an issue on dashboard, they get a nice bug report or feature request thing on both the notebooks and this. The other thing that happens is we have labels that automatically get added when you do that. And it adds a priority needs triage. So, right, triage. And so we can start using the /priority commands if we want to start prioritizing people's issues, but it just has anything that hasn't been looked at by someone will have this label now, which is good. The other thing I just want to draw attention to is that we added a stale. I know there's a lot of debate in the community around stale bots, but I did add a stale thing just so that we can be aware of issues that are really, really stale. The problem is that because all the issues were migrated from Kubeflow repo, a lot of them are older than the stale bots in the GitHub's mind. They're older than the stale bots activity threshold. So they all right now are labeled stale. So we need to go through and either I'd say that we should label them as lifecycle frozen if we think they're valid, or if they're one of the newer Notebook 2.0 issues, maybe we should either way, just like effectively any member of the org can go lifecycle space frozen, and that will prevent it ever being marked as stale. But I think having the bot, every 3 months message us being like, hey, why has there been no activity on this issue is like, we can debate the timelines, but I think having some amount of that is good because people do just raise a lot of issues. And sometimes we forget to close ones that are, solved and things like that. So if people
I can help you.
disagree-
I can help you on looking around that part if you want. That's what I can do. Like maybe I'm not going to call, but if you want, I can like help you on.
Yeah. So
moving
if
things
someone
around.
wants to go through, you're a member on the org or no?
I don't think so, but at least I can start like checking and pinging people in the Slack channel if.
So yeah, if I think I think lifecycle does require you to be a member. But
Okay.
but effectively, it's probably easier for someone. So effectively, you just filter by label stale, and then just because otherwise all these are going to get closed in 20 days or like 10, 15 days because I just turned on the stale bot on this repo. So
Okay.
I just want to make sure these don't get closed, especially the ones like that's from 2019. See, all right, you know what I mean? Like, so maybe that isn't valid anymore. Maybe we should remove that. But it's just like let it stale, But that's just
if you want, I can do like follow the whole list and discuss with
if
you
there's any particular
in
ones you
Kubeflow.
think are important, like when you look through them, like if you just want to ping a list, maybe at me or something, and then just ping a list, and then I'll if you think some important. Otherwise, I can just go through them as well. But like if you have any ones that you think are important, it's fine. I just don't want to
Let's discuss this on the CNCF channel then.
Yeah, cool.
See.
Okay.
But
And so
can
yeah, I
help
just
you on that.
highlighted that we have this feature request and bug report. We still allow blank issues for now. We want to obviously encourage users to use the top two. And we added links to the documentation. And the things like that. Okay. Other than that, that's the thing I just wanted to say. So that's going to happen after we cut the 1.10 release. So the code for dashboard will be removed from the Kubeflow repo. Okay, sorry. Now let's go to 2.0. Okay, so what is this? Sorry, Ida?
It's that Paulo. I don't know, Paulo. Just to put you on the spot, you wanna show the wizard?
If you have a demo, that'd be amazing. Everyone loves the last minute demo.
Well, it's not a demo, but I put the PR link on the other section of the notes with the updates.
Oh yeah, down here. Yeah. Oh no. Where?
Above.
Oh, in the top. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, on the yellow part there.
Oh yeah. So what we're doing, by the way, I'll just overview for people who haven't seen this structure. We've kind of got some weirdness going on in the doc, but we've got these kind of overall kind of tracking issues, which is kind of like a backlog almost. And then we have active work. I know this could be done in a Kanban, and maybe we should, but whatever.
Okay. And that's why I'm here. I can help you on all those things if you want. Even doing this in as a project in GitHub.
We do actually
all the
have that
backend.
already set up. It's just like because not everything. I think we'll be able to migrate to this once we've got a release almost. But like the issue is also that like not everyone has access to edit the stuff. And it doesn't necessarily reflect reality, whereas anyone can suggest an edit on this doc, which is a little bit easier. And there is some permission issues that are like projects are inherently tied to your ability to edit the repo a little bit because you need to be able to add labels. And the problem is labels are like a security thing in our org. Because like certain labels have special permissions. So it is a bit of an issue to like, I don't know. For now, we can think about other options. We don't have to use GitHub projects as well, but just for now, the top part is like overall kind of tracking ideas and things that we need to remember to do before release, grouped by section, and then work streams are loosely grouped ideas and things that are like dependent on each other. So like to get the list table workspace thing done, and we might add more after this, we're adding the services path, which I think has been done. If I remember rightly, I can remove this now, yep. And then add pending restart, okay, and then
yeah, the add pending restart I added now. It's the backend part separated from the other front-end PR that we have.
Perfect. Okay.
So Eder
And so
already
which is the-
reviewed it. So if you want to take a look as well, we could merge it potentially.
what's the what changed?
It's just one field.
Setting the
yeah.
pending restart.
Oh, interesting. We just didn't include it. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. Is that the right way to put it? Is pending restart? How is pending? Where does pending restart? Oh, it's just under the root. Yeah, that's fine then. Yeah, okay. Cool. Okay, we'll have to just make sure it works. Okay. But there was the demo you just wanted to do. Which one was that one?
The second bullet on the yellow section. The
Okay.
second link.
Okay.
Basically, I opened the PR with the first step of the wizard creation, the workspace creation, which is the kind selection, and also Jenny is helping me with some CSS adjust there. So basically, we have a card view as we talked about before, and on the left, we have the filtering based on the labels. So the idea would be to have the labels, all the labels keys as a category there on the left, the text in bold, and then all the possible values across all the kinds available as the checkboxes. So you can filter.
So this is for label. So like the first step should be kind, yeah. Maybe there should be like a name input as well, like metadata.
Yeah, there is a name on the middle top there, above the cards, the radio buttons.
Oh, so like the first, do these even have labels? Let me just check.
Yeah, the kinds.
The kinds have labels? I'm definitely not sure that we're giving them to you in the UI if they are. Kinds, there we go. Kinds themselves, they don't have labels.
Yeah, this is part of the discussed this to add selector. Remember, we discussed some calls ago to include this.
I believe we are getting it from the pod template there.
So this is pod template, you mean? So I'm a bit confused. So like the first, in my mind, maybe I'm misunderstanding what this is here, but like these are kinds, right? These are workspace kinds, these things in the middle.
Yes.
Why are there labels on the side here then?
If you go back to the YAML, we are getting the labels from the pod template field.
Oh, you mean like literally
line.
from the metadata part of it?
Oh, pod template.
Yeah, but that's not the kind.
56. That's not the kind?
No. Like, so, this, like, so the first step is like, there is so when the user spawns I think we talked about this somewhere else, but there's some design somewhere, but like the way that it works is you're creating a new workspace. That is that abstract concept, a place where you do work. It could, right now, the only kind is workspace, pod template, sorry. But what happens is the first thing you do is select the kind. And so the kind directly corresponds to this cluster resource. So there should be a card. It's effectively just a group of cards with the information. The only information that the spawner should be displaying is from this section here, which is display name, description.
Yeah. We talked about this a few calls ago because I think we should have labels in workspace kind to be able to select labels. Imagine that I have multiple workspace kind that are related to PyTorch, for instance, or
Sure,
Jupyter. Yeah. And then I have a selector there to filter.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm just saying, like, we just don't have it right now.
Yeah, I think we should add it. I think because we can remember we're talking about having kinds like, oh, these use GPUs, these use NVIDIA, these use CUDA, and then
I thought that was more about the pod templates, but yeah, I mean, we could also have labels here. My expectation is that admins don't create lots of kinds, but certainly we can have labels. I just think that it like I would expect, like, people could, because like the team-based thing,
yep,
I guess they could do, but because that's not going to be possible to filter by team, it's going to be options filtering by team. Although, okay, it's I see. Yeah, like I just worry that, like, I agree with the structure, but I thought this was for like the pod templates and for the image configs.
Yeah,
I mean, because like there's going to be hundreds or thousands of those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
could be for both, I think. Go ahead, Paulo.
Yeah, we were planning to use this basically this same UI for the image selection step, which is the second step.
Yeah, and you have the rare hand, Hazed, for a long time here.
Yeah, I was just trying to. So Matthew, in your on the note under tracking NB 2.0 area overall, I'm just trying to reconcile that left panel with the add compatibility selectors bullet point that's highlighted.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. That's
okay. Thank you.
so
I just
this
wanted to make sure.
section.
Thank you.
So that's for when you're within an option. So like,
Got it.
so that's more like saying both between the two kinds of options, which is easy to look at workspace. Like there's two kinds of options, image and pod config. One of them is names. Effectively you're just saying between the options, saying if you select CUDA image, you have to select a CUDA pod config, and then the other one is only being able to select a certain image or pod config if you are in a specific namespace that has a specific label, which is a little bit different.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so this is so to tie this back. Sorry to derail this. So the screenshot Paulo's sharing there is to choose from it's labels on the workspace kind itself to help winnow that list down.
I think personally, like I'm not like this is important for when there's lots of them, but I don't know, like how many times are we really expecting people to have more than 5 of them? You know, like I was expecting these to be real cards, just like a nice card-based UI, right? Like I know that I get the idea of having labels, but I think it's just almost never going to be necessary, you know? Like I just
But for image select, it would be necessary, right?
Absolutely. For image and pod config, there could be literally thousands of them. Like I would expect there often to be thousands or hundreds. Whereas for this, realistically, it's going to be 2 or 3 in most companies, which would be 1 per IDE.
Yeah, the concern is that if people will have like 2 or 3 kinds per IDE.
I mean, they could do that. That seems unlikely just because the kinds have to be created through the admin UI. They can't be created through GitOps as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It just because also like yeah, I mean, it's not like we can't have it. I'm just not sure that we like. I mean, because I'm the kind of visioning that I have is also like it's a card, and like this is why there's 2 different icons. There's for the workspace kind. There's logo, which is like a 1x1 card sized icon, kind of similar to how Kubeflow.org. I mean, there's a bug down here because someone merged a thing that shouldn't. But like this kind of look, you know, where it's like it would say, you know what I mean? Like this kind of thing, where you've got a logo and then you've got a description under there, which is directly corresponding to this top part. And yeah, I mean, you could add labels there, I guess. I'm just not. I mean, I'm not like if people disagree, sure, but like.
But either way, Paul, the next step will look like this, right?
Exactly, yeah. And so obviously the only kinds of labels we have right now on them are string labels. So for options, that is. Like if we go down.
Yeah, we can remove the labels for the kind step.
Just hide it. Yeah. Just it's easier as well because we don't have to do any updates as well to do it.
Yeah, but for the second step, everyone would like this design for the image selection.
There should be 3. You also forgotten one of them, which is kind, image, properties. Sorry, image. Yeah, image, and then sorry, it has to be image first, and then pod config, because that's how the selector will. Well, no, which way around do we want to do it?
Yeah, this is something that we talked with Red Hat from UX. They want to reduce the steps based on user input. So usually take the kind image selector and then go everything else on the properties. And then with the
But I mean, like, I feel like there's 2, you've almost got 2 pathways, right? Like you could be trying to find images that work with a specific node type, or you could be trying to find image nodes.
That's why that exactly. This is why I think we should put also. Yeah, this would be complicated because I would like to select which kind supports GPU, for instance.
Well, I think that's going to be up to the admin, right? Like there just won't be GPU options by default in anything.
Because on the pod template should be the GPUs, right?
Yes, and as we
Yeah,
said before, yeah.
I'm saying I want to. So I don't want to derail the meeting on this because we can discuss later. But I do like to have the image selection options on to also filter the kind. You understand my feeling, my point? Like we have the pod template options. When I select a thing that would be a pod template option, also restrict the kinds here.
That's weird though, because the pod templates are explicitly scoped within a kind. There's no relationship between kinds.
Yeah, but no. Yeah, but from a kind, from a pod template, I can know which kind from that pod template, like could be an index, has a
I don't think
pod config that I want.
This is really important to keep it scoped because the labels have no meaning across kind boundaries. Like that's the idea. You know what I mean? That that within a kind they have a meaning, like that you'd expect the admin wouldn't be crazy and define a label called has GPU that is meaning. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is like the point is that I would expect there to be at least 4 steps if we're doing the filtering.
Yeah. I will stop the last question that you stop. How do I know which kinds is a specific Python version?
It's more likely that you start with the kind of environment that you want. So in the future, there will be a Jupyter. Like so in the future there might be a couple, and so the only label that makes sense in my mind for the sidebar of the kind selector is the type of kind. I know that sounds weird, which is pod template, which is all of them right now, or kubevert in the future, right? And so from there you select, oh, I want the Jupyter on pod template one. And then you select within that, you select, oh, okay, I want PyTorch installed. So I select the label for that, which the admin is defined. And then I only see images that show PyTorch. And then it's like, okay, if there's 20 of them, because there's 20 different versions of Python that my admin has pre-built or something, I don't know, probably not that, but maybe different versions of PyTorch, maybe, better way to say it.
Yeah, because I understand, but on the pod template will be the label that you have, for instance, PyTorch, right? On the pod template.
Not on the pod template, on the image config.
No, yeah, but it's inside the pod template, right? The pod template and image.
Well, pod template isn't a thing. Pod template is just a section.
It will be okay. It will be an image in an option, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like line 255.
So this option,
like 251, for instance. 251.
Yeah, 25. This.
Yeah, my question. Yeah, I think and I suggested Paulo to add that selector first, because imagine that this label is like CUDA. Okay, imagine this. Which workspace kinds, and I want to do something with CUDA. What is the support for our cluster? Which kind can I use to have CUDA? So my initial idea was to take all those values here, put as a filter for the workspace kind also.
I think that's not what we're going to do. Just because I don't think that is practical from an admin perspective. Like, it's just not, like, an admin is going to want to define explicit things. Like, we are offering Jupyter to our users. And then within that, they're going to offer them options within that. So like pre-built images. It doesn't, like there is, as I said, I don't want to imply any meaning of labels outside of the scope of this file. So the label only has meaning within the scope of this file.
Yeah, but it's in the scope of this file because I'm selecting the workspace kind.
Not if you're displaying multiple options from multiple workspace kinds on the same page. So I'm saying the first step is always going to be selecting a kind. There's no debate about that. It has to be. This is practically impossible.
Yes, I agree. It's just a way to. My question is just a way to filter. Remember this why here.
But we already agreed on that.
Yeah, but I would like to figure out my options first from the options to the kind. But maybe it's just me. It's like, can you click on the link on
I agree with you in terms of. Imagine if you have one admin for one team, it is most less likely that you are going just to use what the admin defines. But if you have a company-wide cluster, it means that maybe you will have more admins with more different versions and more different kinds that we are expecting. Imagine you are not, I don't know, a huge company with thousands of people like working on different things on different times.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, you will see a lot of things in that UI if there is no way for filtering. But again, it depends on many things and how those companies works and how this is intended. But if this is going to be at some point in time, like big company wide, you may get many different versions because that is actually what we are seeing in our cluster.
Yeah, but that's where the filters come in that we talked about.
Yeah, but that's why, and that's why I mean, like we have the workspace kind with a lot of labels. So the only thing we are doing is that we are popping up some labels to the first kind selection so you can see what's inside that kind, but that's it. I think that's what you are mentioning, right, Heather?
Yes, it's track just me to wrap up. It's like we scan all the kinds and create an index to figure out, for instance, which kinds has a PyTorch, for instance, from a cluster, from the image config here. And then that selector that I put on the first is to filter from all the kinds that I have, which one has an image config with PyTorch as a label.
I don't know.
I like ultimately here, this is just like it's a UX thing, right? We're debating whether or not you select the kind and transition to a new modal or shove all the stuff on one screen. I think Matthew's like advocating for transition. Eder, you're saying like kind of have like a superset of all stuff. I don't think it matters one way or another. It makes that initial selection, Eder, from understanding your approach, potentially more complicated, relatively speaking, right? Because you'd have the kind and these drop, like, do you show the drop down list of all labels across all kinds, or does that then auto refresh and update when you choose the specific kind, which then potentially narrows
Filter.
down?
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
The step that I want to avoid is user select a kind, select a pod template, go for the image selector, and figure out, I don't have Buddha here.
Not all kinds have pod template type. Like most, like in the future,
I go for the image selector, for instance, and I see, oh, there is no image selector that I want.
It also might not be every. I mean, that's still up to the debate as to whether that will be on every kind as well. It probably won't be.
I see.
Because some of them are going to be VMs. Like,
yeah, but we don't have
so
VMs
foundationally,
right now.
I agree that there is some UX badness going on here, but I think if the expectation is set that even if you have multiple teams sharing the cluster, that they only scope within the options using those selectors that we talked about.
Yes, I agree with this. I'm using the same selector. I don't want to add any labels for the workspace kind, to be clear. I want to use these labels to filter workspace kinds.
That's interesting. I mean, that can just be a UI thing later as well. I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah.
I think there are performance concerns potentially. Like, let's say you have 5 kinds with 5,000 options in each, right? Like,
that's why the index.
Even then, but I mean, it means we probably need a database then. But yeah, sorry, Hashad?
Yeah, I don't want to hijack the meeting, so go ahead.
Yeah.
So just a question on the workspace kind, if you go to the metadata side and go to the name, are we expecting only the name to be Jupyter Lab? Can there be a Jupyter Lab, comma, or like hyphen PyTorch? There could be Jupyter Lab.
If the admin wanted to do that, I don't think they will want to do that. But
if they want, they could, right? So should we put wouldn't be using the Kubernetes label which comes into the metadata phase?
So these labels that are on this resource are unlikely to be useful to the end user because like Kubernetes systems often add random labels. So like if we added a label, we'd add it under the spawner concept for anything displayed to the user.
And that's what I was thinking, like the whole discussion is coming to, like, we want to segregate how these workspace kinds are, if there are multiple ones, which we don't know, because we, as you said, like the admins can if they want to, right? So we as developers, we don't know what they would be naming it. So same thing goes for the labels as well. If they want to put labels onto their workspace kind because they want to filter it out, these are still a good option to have, right?
Yeah, and that's a feature. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to have in the first version, but it's definitely a feature.
And I think that's what would help, definitely.
We can catalog that as a feature, but I was expecting most users to just want to write a big description which explains the kinds of things that are available in each kind. You know, like this is Jupyter Lab, and if you have multiple teams and you really want to keep them separate, you could do that too. But but that's a lot of work for the admin, I think. So,
maybe tags instead of labels makes more sense for the kind as well. Without the key and value, just a tag, a string.
I think for your point of divergence here is that it will be more than 5 workspace kinds.
yes.
And I think you'll be in the size of the cluster that I see, I think you'll be like 20, 40 with different
With
combinations.
what
across the
boundary
time.
between them?
That's the point. We don't know because admin can create Jupyter CUDA, Jupyter blah blah, Jupyter blah blah, Jupyter is, you know.
Yeah. One thing about best practices, and another thing is how they do that.
Oh yes, yeah.
Right.
We can also encourage what best practice is by the way we design it.
Yeah.
But
either way, we can discuss this later.
Yeah,
just to wrap up here.
We should continue this on
In any case, like the first selector. Yeah, so like
Sorry,
if we're talking about the first example though, regardless, the first step, I mean, we can talk about combining them later, but from a practical perspective, it's much easier to do the filtering if it goes next step between image and pod config. So like effectively the first, these later steps will be conditional depending on the kind. So we can't actually specifically show them this stepper. But there's 3, for a pod template, you'll have 3 options. You'll have image, pod, and then volumes. Because that's, if you look at what a workspace actually is, that's really all you have. You have, and some labels, but that's the way with that. You have volumes and two types of options. And the reason why it has to be different steps for now, at least, we could do it in the same section, like options. You could have one called options, which does some kind of up-down filtering. I don't know if that's easier or better from UX. We can talk about that. But like, you know, with our now compatibility labels, you know, where you, because then if they're both on the same page, I guess you could go down the page and select one of them first, you know. But what, like an image config or a pod config first, you know. You could say I want X pod type verse. I think most users are going to pick the image first though, but that's the thing that the user cares about, I say. But yeah. Anyway, so kind maybe image plus pod config, but for now, let's just have 4 steps. Does anyone disagree with having 4 steps for now? We also need a volume step. Or is that this last part?
Yeah, I think the idea of the properties step was to group inside it like the hardware profile. So like the pod template and the cluster storage and environment variables.
Maybe it's just
the same step as
a
an
naming thing instead of properties like configuration or.
I mean, I feel like options definitely needs to be its own section. Like, we can also just have like it doesn't really matter from a UI perspective. It's like these could all be one section, it's fine, and then they're all on one page. You scroll down, it doesn't really matter. It's just yeah.
So sorry, one clarification with the properties item. Then we're talking about the pod configs or pod template. Is that like still in filtering, or is properties about defining stuff, right? Because there are multiple different categories of selection. So then that like terminal properties is kind of weird if we're still filtering and also setting properties. I mean, it's not like a big problem. I guess I was just confused on intent there.
Yeah, I was about to say this, and thank you. It's like this pattern, the white pattern that we're saying here is that everything that is a filter is a step. Like that's narrow down your options, and the last step is everything that you need to configure. Could be some stuff and hide the stuff that are options. Optional. You know, in the last step, properties, you can use properties another name, but those are the things that I need to set up. The name and this step and this everything that you put in the step and are things that you narrow down your options. Like I select a kind, narrow down the options of image, for instance. And this is another step. When I put the image selector, narrow down, I go for the next step.
Yeah, so I think there is some value to having both options, like both image and pod on the same step, and then allowing the user to scroll down halfway down the page if they want to select by other way around, and then it filters the top section. You know, effectively they're all linked together, you know what I mean? On the same page. It also means that we don't have to have them go back and forth to see which ones are compatible, right? Like also as a side note, if we're talking about material design, I don't know if we're really doing it, but cards definitely are not allowed to have scrolls. The page would need to scroll, and this would need to have a fixed height. If we're talking about, because cards are meant to be objects in the material design language, and objects obviously can't have scrolls in them because that doesn't make sense. The page can have a scroll.
The scroll is just for the middle part. I think. Although let me open it. Yeah, although it's on the whole card there, it's just scrolling the part between the buttons and the stepper in the top.
Interesting. Also, like
So-
I feel like steppers usually are vertical, right? Are they? Or I don't know. Horizontal's fine too, I guess. It just means it's hard when you get really, really long ones.
Yeah. Hello, Jenny?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, I heard you. On the
You
back.
know,
Sorry.
I was just
Okay.
saying, yeah, Matthew was speaking about horizontal stepper, and yeah, I
Okay.
just wanted to verify that MUI does have a horizontal one, and I'll be working, yeah, and I was gonna give my status update and mention that. I'll be working on that next.
Like a vertical one, you mean? Or sorry,
A horizontal one.
isn't this is horizontal, right?
So so currently this is using Patternfly. So when we add the material theming to this view, it's gonna still be horizontal, but it's gonna apply the MUI styling to this
What
view.
happens when there's really, really large amounts of steps on a horizontal layer?
That's a good question. I guess I don't have to worry about that here yet.
Yeah,
but
you should use vertical.
Yeah, vertical is the most
bigger one.
by far the most common because of that problem, I think, right?
Yeah, but for smaller ones, horizontal is I think is better.
Yeah, when you've got small, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I do worry that if we, and also vertical will have a lot of step. Like I expect that I think my perspective right now is that we should have image and pod on the same page so that they filter to each other. So effectively you have two sub cards. I don't know how it should be structured, but probably not cards, but like sections. One which says images, and then the other which says things. And then when you filter, I don't know. I'm open to both options here. Which way around do you want to do it? Like, do you want to have step image, step pod, or try and find some clean way to combine them?
Sorry, I was muted. But yeah, so let me send you. I think it's easier than explaining, because one of the ideas is that those steps on the top are kind of more general steps, and then inside specifically inside the properties step, you would have a few steps grouped together. Let me send you an image.
You could have another stepper inside of here, actually. You could have a vertical stepper, like, because you could pick the steps that are actually common to every kind, which would be choose a kind, configure the kind, and then common properties, right? Those are the three things that are actually common to every kind, like properties being name and everything, and then options being very different depending on how you do. If you have a VM, obviously you're going to need to pick some things that are quite different to the pod. And then configure could then have a vertical stepper. I know it's a bit confusing, but I don't know how you make it look nice. But maybe then you go select a kind card, click next. Then you get to the step over here, which is configure. And then you go, okay, we're going to have images first. And then like maybe it's an expand. You know how like they kind of, there's some steppers that kind of like are step. And then they can be expanded and contracted each step.
Yes, that's kind of the idea. I sent you an image on the CNCF Slack.
Can I open it on the screen or?
Yeah, I think that's okay because I didn't know where to send it. I only had the screenshot. So that would be the idea for the properties step. So you have those expandable steps.
Yeah,
there.
that's kind of that makes sense.
This came from our UX, from the user research.
Yeah, this is and that's what I'm saying. You have like these overall kind of things, but you also have these under kind of things as well. Like that's kind of that's where I was coming out. Yeah, similar. It's a very similar idea. I do think there should be maybe 3 steps on the top. One for choose kind, one for choose configure that kind, which again could, because I think the VM kind might have a lot more steps in the configure kind. That's kind of what I'm like. Which target cluster do you want?
I like the configure name.
Yeah, I think it's like choose kind, configure, and then common properties or something, or just properties. You know what I mean? Like that's things like the groups, and then within that you would have these expandable steps. Right? And then the benefit of that is that at least for pod template, because we now have these cross option dependencies, when you open up the not hardware profile but pod config section, and then it would go image first. Of course, then now you've got a problem, which is how do we clean up the labels, the filtering, if it's like, I think maybe rather than doing it as like this, it should be kind of the normal stepper style one, which actually the whole section collapses as you go to the next step vertically. Because then you can take up an entire page.
This pattern here, Matthew, is that they expand the options that user need to do and collapse things that are optional.
So where would we put these label filters like we had on this?
No, on this is the details of the image that I select on the step before.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
we are missing one step on the top there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the idea before we talked was to have the kind on one step, the image on the second, and the properties on the third. And then you can see on the left column there is the image that was selected on the previous step as kind of a summary of what was selected before. And then on each expandable step in the middle of the screen, you would see a summary of what's selected inside that step as a text. So like there is the default, none added, one added. So it's kind of a summary of what's in there, and then you can click and expand to see the details and change what is selected there.
The problem with this is that the hardware also has labels. And how do you do label filtering in this section here when you expand?
No, this hardware profile is a thing from Red Hat. This comes from before.
This is not pod template?
No, this pod template wasn't. We could put up pod template. I think we should figure out if you do pod template before, because it's auto filtering, right? Like after
that's what I'm
image.
trying to say. Like we should have that's what I'm trying to debate. Like I don't know how visually you would do it though if you do them not on the same different steps, because once they're on a separate step, you can have a sidebar with the label filtering, right? It's very obvious how you would do it. But when you try and do a vertical stepper within this stepper, if you will, like kind of like I'm thinking like, you've got almost like a horizontal card, like almost like a table row, but like a card within the card that kind of, I don't know, maybe that's not good. Card changing size is bad, so.
Yeah, for card view, I wouldn't use the inside the properties step. I would have a separate one. So if
that means we're forced to have kind image pod properties.
Yeah, if we like the card view for the pod template, I would say that, yeah.
My only concern is that, as I said, like these are not truly common, like these middle steps, image and pod config are not common to all kinds.
Yeah, and just skip, like we can just skip those. If those
but
are
what do we
not
do
in the
when, how do we visually do this? Like when the user selects a kind and then based on the kind selection, we have to choose whether we show them a pod or an image config.
We put a gray and go straight through the properties.
No, but then they'll have different properties. Like say there might be 5 or 6 new configs they need to choose when they choose VM, probably, let's say. And of completely different category, like VM target cluster. Things like that.
But this will be a new step on the wizard, or this will be on the properties? But we can deal with later because we don't have VMs there.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm just, anyway, sorry. The only thing I just want to clarify is that the first step is always pick a kind. The next step, for now, let's just do them on separate pages. It really doesn't matter. Kind, because we know that all ones have image and pod, then let's just do that. And then the last one is everything else, right? Is that fine? Or
yeah, I think so. Paulo, Jenny?
Or do you have a reason? Because properties also have labels, right? There seems to be, sorry, pod configs also have labels. How were you selecting this in your example?
Oh, we don't have the pod template there yet. The PR only adds the kind selection screen.
I see. That's probably why I was very confused.
The rest is just ideas for now. I only implemented the UI of the kind selection step.
I see. Okay, sorry. Okay, anyway, we probably wasted way too much time here. Sorry about that. Okay. What do you need from us to get that done then? I'll leave it to Edo to review and merge this, yeah?
Sure, that's okay. Jenny is also reviewing it and sending a few changes to my branch to improve the PR.
But obviously, yeah, I'm not expecting it to all look amazing on step 1. I just want to have the general concept correct. Like if we move things around, that's all fine too. It's just like looks come later. It's more like function first. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And I want to open some parallel tasks inside that wizard as well, so more people can work on the UI. So that's why I wanted to merge the first step first. But yeah, I agree. For my opinion, we after Jenny and others approval, we could go forward with this PR. So yellow, it's not blocked at this point, and still modifying the PR. Then for the orange, as I said, we are missing the first one to be merged. So the second can be rebased, and I can review it because it's a front end one. In the orange
Yeah.
part. So yeah, the first one is backend, and Adder approved it. So probably you need to review it.
Oh, sorry. I didn't approve it. Okay. If it's yeah, I mean.
And then after that, I can review the front end ones.
The pending restart is
rebased.
for that one. Oh, and have you updated this one or?
But this will be rebased after the first one is merged, and I will continue to review it. I gave a partial review from my side for now.
I mean, as long as the test passed, if this works, let me just make sure it doesn't look crazy. Deref, defer, updates, false, that's all the same. What changed? It's just, why does it show such a big diff?
I don't know. My best
Yeah,
guess
GitHub is gotten a weird. Yeah, my pull request yesterday, not from two books, but from other project. I think from other registry. I changed one line.
Yeah.
Yeah, changing one line, and it's like 20 of. Oh, in the pull request that you reviewed, Jenny. I changed
they must
just
have broke
one
something
thing,
because that's weird.
Yeah.
Like this is very strange.
If you do like on the URL $W=1, like I wonder if that will.
What is
I wonder
W
if it's just.
What is this?
What is
that disables white space diffing? Yeah.
Oh, what the heck? So why is there a white space diff here then?
I don't know, and I think it does seem like something's broke because I would think that it would like shade that differently or something. But anyways,
I know what it is. I take it back. I know what it is. It's because Go format changes the spacing between these to be common, and because this is longer than any of the previously longest ones, it's moved all of them. So that is a corrective. That is actually a corrective.
I learned something, Andy.
Yeah. So, and I'll agree that this is not the right way to highlight this. What I would say is that the diff really should say, like, show the white space as diffed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It should highlight them as a slightly different color. That's usually what IDEs do. But I think, anyway, okay, cool. That should be fine then, because the only change is, and pending restart is required. I don't believe it's optional. So, that'll always be set to false. And everything else here is fine. So yeah, we can just merge that. That's fine. As long as the test on the bottom pass, I'll approve it. Yeah. I'll also just go okay to. Yeah, I know I don't need to do this. The problem is our okay to test one needs to have run, even if it doesn't actually need to have run, which is a bit annoying.
Paulo, just to wrap up on your pull request, you're going to put the first one with the kind without labels. Then we are going to do the image with labels, then the pod config, and then the properties in there. That would be the steps, right?
Yeah, for now, yes.
Okay.
I want, just to be clear, on the PR, that PR specifically is just for the kind selection, but I will add the pod config step on the top.
Also, pending restart. Can we remove the labels from that PR? I don't know if it's
I will.
Okay.
Also, I just realized there might be a problem with this, which is that there are other. I guess pending restart is abstracted to the pod template. You have to go under pod template to figure out why it needs a restart. But okay, sure, that's fine. Okay, we did put that intentionally at the root. That's fine. This is good. Okay, cool. That should be merged now, so you can rebase that. Sorry. Okay, everyone, we've gone way too over this. Okay, I need to go soon. So what else is blocked? I'm so sorry. We should have gone through the people's tasks other than this.
Yeah, no. As far as I know, no blockers on those tasks. But we can go
okay. Has anyone not got a task that wants a task?
So I know I hit you up in Slack, Matthew. I don't know if you're ready for like moving GHA stuff. I know like you had some things to do or whatnot, but to just like, kind of some of that like chore type labor, migrating GitHub Actions, just please reach out to me. I'm happy to jump into that if and as you think it's ready.
I mean, yeah, once we once we merge the GHCR migration, we can then merge the code which I can push the commits to the dashboard repo, and then the commits won't include any of the GitHub actions, so you can help go through the GitHub actions and make new ones that work there. Of course, we need to then debate whether we push to a different GHCR image, because we'll also, we'll need to turn off the releases of the old ones, if you know what I mean. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, we need to remove the code from Kubeflow so that it stops releasing commits from there for the new images. But okay, anyway, that should be fine. So
so yeah, so let me, when
if
you're
you want
ready,
to review
like,
that PR, it'll help you learn a bit, the one that Eder made.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to suggest, Andy. If you have some time to take a look on my PR, yeah.
This one here.
okay, yep.
7706.
I'll give you some feedback tomorrow, or bug you with questions, if not feedback. But we'll discuss that tomorrow. I'm meeting with you anyway, so that sounds good.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, we probably need to make sure we should discuss these kind of other ideas in other places. Okay, so because we lost a bunch of people. Okay, okay. So, is there anything else we want to talk about before we close this meeting? If not, Jenny, did you have things you were specifically working on? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just mention, just based on, we saw Paulo's mocks and the work on the PR, so I'm just going to be theming all of those. So currently those components are implemented with pattern fly styling, so I'll be working on applying the material UI theming to those views, and that includes the progress stepper that we were just discussing and the cards as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, and I guess the next most important PR, Matthew, is the tilt one from Alessio.
Oh, did that get redone? Did that get rebased?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the status. Unfortunately, we miss him. Yeah, he
he
moved
said
him
2 days ago. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay, so if you want to do a quick test with that, and if it works for you, then yeah, have you tried it or?
Yep. No, not yet. I spend my cycles with the
yeah, I
migration.
understand. Yeah. So that's another thing you could play around with Andy if you want. I don't know.
I was gonna say, I actually have a self-scheduled learn session for myself tomorrow morning, which working through this development guide seems great use. So I'll queue that up myself.
And whatever you have problems with would be great to write in the doc, in the PR. But if it works, we might merge it sooner anyway. So that's fine.
Okay. Yep. But I will plan to kick that tomorrow morning, and I'll one way or another provide feedback on the PR.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's good step for that. For those two, I'll just write that. So we don't. Wherever it's gone down here. Do we have your one? And do we do? Oh yeah. GHCR migration PR. Okay. And then the other one was just take a look at that. So is anyone else? I mean, most people have left now, but and then try use the local dev guide with built or controller. Yeah, so especially if you haven't set anything up, it would be great to see what goes wrong. Okay, cool. Anyone else? Okay, Ekrem's doing some things.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, hi.
I've made a proposal for the update workspace endpoint. So if you can check it.
Okay, I mean, we'll look at it in a minute, but let me just go to the right. Okay, so Eder, do you want to, I mean, that's too many things to ask you to do, but so what would the structure of the API specifically look like?
It will be the same like the create workspace.
The exact same model?
Not the same model, the same logic or the same fields.
I think that, so can you just list out what the API would look like? Because I think it's not quite the exact same as create, because create also includes the name, which is not a valid field for update.
Yeah. it will be not in the update. Just some questions that relate to the fields that they are not immutable. Like the kind, I think it was mentioned
Yeah,
in
it's not
this.
actually immutable. It technically isn't, but the API will reject updates that would create an invalid workspace.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like if you update a kind, it will technically work, but it's very likely that your selected options wouldn't be valid anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Mohammed, if you are interested in working on this, I'll assign to you, and we can start discussing a pull request. Next week, I can guide you on this as well.
Yeah, so like as soon as you just show me an example of what the field would look like, because the only thing I just want to discuss is whether so you don't need to do any of these explicit things, because effectively what should happen is you try and do the thing that the user requested, and if the API rejects it, then it's invalid. The Kubernetes API, you know, so you send the update to the workspace. It says, no, that was invalid for these reasons. And I'll just highlight one thing that we did in, so that this is just for you to understand. Similar to how we, under create. So if I go to backend, I built a piece of code to unpack the Kubernetes API errors, so that you can present them to the user in our error in a nice way. So for example, if you go, I think it's under API, but let me check. And you go workspace, create a handler, that one. And you go create. So create workspace handler. So what happens is these are validation errors within our own thing, like you can't create with an invalid name. But then when you go here, what you get is so when you try and create one with no data, it's invalid. But then what's interesting is this is validating the data. Oh, sorry, then it's under here. Sorry. Yep. There we go. What we're doing is we capture the invalid response, and then status causes from API status is this function that I used here, so that then it will tell the user in a structured format why the API rejected the request.
I assume you're going to follow the same pattern, like Mohammed. I think another most important question, Matthew, go back to the issue, please. If you're going to do only put or patch style updates, I would say that we should go with put, with the full, the full payload initially. Yeah,
I agree. Yep, that's fine. So I guess this other question is, do we want to try and create a generic that wraps both create and update, so that we don't have to specify things multiple times, or just duplicate?
Let's duplicate.
So like internal, we have models. We just literally have a new one called workspace, like types underscore update, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. I guess so.
Cool. And then just the only things that'd be missing would be name.
Yep.
For now. But yeah, so this yeah.
There's one more thing. Yeah, another thing, but we can discuss in a follow-up PR of this, is regarding the versioning to the conditional updates. Remember?
Yeah, like a resource version. Yeah, it's an interesting question as to what we should do, because
because this is what expected a payload of the update to be different, because on payload of the update you need to pass the current version of the resource.
I mean,
the last version
to realize is that internally, how is it going to actually be implemented? Is it going to be, so does the backend get and then put? You know what I mean? Does get and then update?
I think the backend can do that if you want to do, but with the controller would be the most suitable place, right? To reject. Oh no. The backend needs to do this. The backend.
Yeah.
Needs to do
so
that.
like, because
Mohammed, are you following us on this one?
Yeah.
Because
we want to avoid haste conditions.
No. So what I'm saying is, yeah.
Oh, one more clarification on this, right? So when we talk about the versioning and determining whether it's valid or not, would this be through, like, in terms of this API, are you passing like standard HTTP e-tag type headers, or we're talking about actually putting this information in the body?
Yeah. It tags one way of doing this implementation. We don't, I not even see how we are going to do this because this is up to discussion.
Okay,
It's
then
more like
never mind.
it's
That's
more
fine.
it's more like to avoid, but it tags definitely one way to do this. But it's more to avoid that to me send an update for that the backend needs to reject an update from a resource that is stale.
So there's one other thing to remember is that a create resource does not fully describe the spec of a resulting workspace. Specifically, the most obvious one is the metadata, right? So if we're using so the question is, should we use actually a patch on the back end? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, because I think we actually might need to, because I don't want to remove people's metadata, for example. So like we don't.
No,
then
you're not talking about the HTTP for the backend. You're talking about how we send the request
how the
for
backend
Kubernetes.
actually talks to the
Yeah.
Kubernetes API. I think that should probably be a patch. I don't know. I just feel, because then it removes the need to do a get. Or do you want to do a get and an explicit update?
I always like to do a conditional update. Like before I doing an update, I do a get to figure out if I have the same version that's coming that I read.
Well, the user doesn't have a version because they're just sending a workspace update object.
No, the user has the front end has the version, because in order to do an update, you do a get first, right?
The front end, but a get gives you back. Most likely, what will happen is that they're in the edit. They're in the table view. They click edit on a workspace. It opens up the edit view.
I have my on this point. I have the version, right, on the front end.
But the version, if it's using the Kubernetes version, it could be completely valid that it gets updated while you're doing stuff without breaking your thing. Like a metadata label gets added.
I see your point, sir.
And that's irrelevant to the user. That's not invalid from a user perspective. Yep.
You're correct.
And so I don't think it's necessary to even deal with that race condition. Personally, I think whoever clicks the button last should win. But then the problem becomes, okay, regardless of what the front end is doing, the back end actually has to do the update. And so there's two ways of doing it. The first way is that, similar to how we go create workspace here, we do a patch workspace, and then we pass a workspace update object, and then it just tries to do a patch on the cluster using the Kubernetes patch API. The other option is a little bit different, which is just we still do an update object here, but then we have to pass the full, not workspace create object, we'd have to pass a full workspace object in, which is a little bit fine. It's fine. It's just, it means that we do a get and then an update. And also there could be a race in that as well. Could be a race condition in that as well. Because then I think we should, because effectively you have to retry then, because the backend shouldn't need to reject, and that was a valid request from the front end. You know, let's say something did happen in the backend and then there was a race condition, because remember, on a Kubernetes perspective, update also requires that the exact resource version is the same. So including metadata changes, including anything else. I think using a patch does make sense as well. I really do. Because it won't ever be rejected unless the resource doesn't exist, in which case we fail because the resource never existed in the first place. Because yeah, the only truly invalid state is if during your process of clicking the update button, someone else went and deleted the workspace, right? You know, that'd be the only truly invalid situation. And then the API status from causes, I tried to unpack it cleanly, but it's under helper status. Like, so, oh no, it must be no validation. Yeah, status from causes. It tries to unpack them. I think I succeeded, but like you effectively try and get a list of JSON objects. You get these meta status causes back, and then from there, then I've got a function called failed validation response, which unpacks these status responses into a UI thing that's somewhat friendly, I think. But anyway, that should be the same. So that's my only tip for the Akram. Sorry for not letting you talk in this, Mohammed.
Okay, no problem.
But yeah, I would say if you're confident, so yep, I'm happy for you to make a pull request now, honestly. With the caveats being, make sure you create a new workspace, update model. Require all fields. There will need to be a validation. That's another problem. Editor is the you will be duplicating this a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But then the name is also not. We have to. There's no choice. We did literally have to validate it twice. It's just a little bit painful. The alternative is to use the validation-based tags and then use the same ones, but because then you can reference a validation function, which is in a helper thing, so that I just don't know. This seems like a bit painful to duplicate twice, but because then I don't know which is better, honestly. It's hard to know because also you still need a function which returns back field errors rather than the error that you would get from the all that would change actually is that we would loop recursively over each field and apply its validation. That is all that we would be doing in here differently. So I guess that doesn't really matter in the short term. Because we'd still have to add the not JSON, but validate tags in here. Okay, it's fine. So all I'm saying is, okay, Mohammed, when you make the thing, make a new type called workspace update. Pretty much directly copy the code in the API for create, except replacing it with update, with patch. Sorry, with patch. You still the name and stuff still needs to be validated, but yeah, same idea. But just use a patch, yeah. Does anyone disagree with that? And then we've got an update field. And so the UI people, what do you need when the user clicks edit? So you're just going to do another get on the workspace again, do you think?
I guess so.
Probably.
Why
cool.
they will get the workspace? It's already there. Why?
But it's more like if something has happened in the meantime since the page was opened.
Yep, they need to do a refresh.
It's just trying to reduce the chance that we, because then it could, and one of the error conditions is, hey, wait, that workspace was deleted before you know what I mean? So stop trying to edit it.
Yeah, and Mohammed, there is a chance that with these tables in the Ys, people could have the table open for a long time and they are stale in their Y, depending on the refresh time that you do for the Y.
Also, it validates that they still have a connection to the cluster as well. That like if they haven't, so that they don't spend time doing any edits without realizing it. Okay, cool. Okay, that's cool. So if you want to, you're welcome to do that. So I'd say,
so it would be a put in the HTTP request for the backend and a
that's all what he
for the
said.
Kubernetes. Yeah. Okay.
So effectively, just this like sounds good. Tips 1, use the create a new space update model based on workspace create, but without the name field. When creating the put API, use the current create API as a reference, but you in the, what is it called here, in the repository, use a patch, Kubernetes patch to actually do the update. And think about all the conditions when you're doing it. Think about like, oh, think about all the things that can go wrong and make sure you capture those errors. Like, oh, the resource doesn't exist. The resource something else goes wrong, you know? In the workspace repository. Okay. And is there anything else we wanted to add from that discussion?
I think no. Yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Let's do it. Next, anyone else? Sorry, we've gone way over time now. I need to go.
Yeah, I have to go to lunch.
Okay. Thanks. Ed, we'll try and get your thing merged as soon as we can be happy with them.
The funny part is not that it's just 4 tests failing. It can trigger them.
They are still failing. Interesting.
Yeah, 4 of them. But it was 5 before. The first thing that I sent was 6. Now it's 5. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll rerun it one more time then. Maybe.
Yeah, one more time. Yeah.
This is timing out. I think we might just need to increase this timeout wait.
I can send up a request for this. Yeah.
Or I wonder if it actually is wrong. That like it's because it's trying to pull from a container registry that it can't pull from.
That's one thing that crosses my mind because we don't have that image history registered on GitHub. Remember?
Well, because you're trying to load
this I figured. You see, but this image is correct because I'm generating this image. I'm building it. If you go in the build central dashboard image, 3 steps before.
Yeah.
You can see that I built this image there.
But then it is being loaded, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you actually apply it, it's not.
Yeah, my concern is that there is some images that they are not in Google GitHub container registry. Remember, there is 4 or 5 of them that they are affecting this.
Oh, because it depends on other ones. Yes, almost certainly it depends. Like well, we can see what it does. It says create.
Yeah, because if you go a little up, expand the line 1. The line 1 of this. No, the line 1 of the where we were. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because you see that this image here, the line 9, line 5 is something that I changed because there is docker.io. But this image is the image that I'm registering in the step before, you know, exactly 1. But I guess that there's other images that are not there yet.
Oh, wait, maybe you just didn't update the manifest correctly. Which is actually the valid reason for this test to fail. Like, maybe it's just like this, you know, what it's doing here is like it's trying to replace current image.
No, I updated in line 5 and 6 because there was Docker there. Line 5, I changed it.
Yeah, no, but you also need to update it in the manifest. Like, let me just check if you did that. Sorry, we're going way over time for random people. Anyone else is feel free to leave. Anyone else?
Free to go. Yeah.
We'll quickly go to this. So
I think I fixed the manifest. I think.
So you fixed that one, but that's not correct. See, missing a dash.
Where is mission?
There's meant to be a dash.
Okay.
So it is correct. That test is failing. That's why we have that test.
Yeah, I opened it.
That's why we have the test. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I opened that's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
perfect.
And then let's check the other one. I'll just give you the other one as well, while we're just, you know, taking a look.
Probably because the other maybe they depends on the central dashboard, right?
Maybe. Let me check. So the multi-out should be the same. Oh no, that one won't. That'll be a seg fault. This is probably a flake. This is
the dash there was a nice catch. Look, and I cannot see the difference.
This is probably a flake, but I'm not sure where it's failing. It is. This is just weird, right? Like, oh, when node events throw area. This is weird.
So npm finishes. And this is in jest. MCI. Why is
this looks like a flake, but it's like going run CI, run build. We don't know which one of these is failing, I guess. But it's
Well, CI should be passing, right? Because you get the npm audit fix message. So I think npm CI we can rule out. But yeah, then it's either build or it's probably build, but we can't say with 100% certainty.
okay. Then I'll just check this last one as well, just in case.
And one thing that I do, I will add you from my fork as with permissions. If you see something for you to just push directly.
I'll ping you, but if I find anything. But yeah, so then this is a seg fault.
This almost certainly is a flake, but the done error failed npm. The fact that it's failing in the multi-arch is interesting. Did you definitely based it off the current master, right? Like you didn't accidentally forget to rebase?
No. I think for
2204, this should be working, yeah.
Yeah, it's the last commit is from February 18.
Because what's interesting about this is it's not actually clear that it's even doing a multi-arch build. It's just doing AMD 64.
Just a second. No, I think is outdated, I think.
Oh, it's because it does it like this. So we're failing on the first line, that's all.
Oh yeah, I just miss. Oh no, it's a rebased. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a problematic flake. First off, I've always wondered why we don't do these separately, so that then if they fail, they don't need that they can rerun the one that failed. You know what I mean? But this is actually failing on AMD 64. Like this is not failing on ARM. Like this is a true strange seg fault. I wonder if someone updated something in this in the Jupyter web app recently. Okay, we should probably stop recording anyway because this is at half an hour past. So I'm gonna stop recording. I will quickly look at this and then I do need to go. But, I'm gonna stop. Thanks for coming.
I will have lunch, and as soon as I come back, I will fix the typo in the manifest and fire again the CI.
Okay, cool. Thanks guys for coming.
See you guys. See you.
Thank you all.